Once I have all the preferences set up the way that I like them, the next thing I want to do is adjust my workspace. This default workspace isn't the way I like to work, and your workspace is going to be dependent on how you like to work or what you're working on. I might have one workspace that is great for web design and then another workspace that is great for retouching photographs, and you'll want to experiment with different workspaces, and you can save out your workspaces as you move along and keep the ones that you like. So as you know, that the main workspace is made up of the menu bar at the top and then your option bar, and then we have our tools bar on the left hand side, or tools panel, and then we have the document window, which is the main area where we work, and then we have our panels on the right hand side. You can adjust any of these as you see fit, so you can take these panels, you can move them around, you can resize them, you can add panel groups such as this one here. We have properties and adjustments, and you can close panels out that you're not using. So what I recommend you do is go ahead and try to find one that works for you and set that up and then save it. And then as you begin working, you may find, oh, I use these panels more often than other panels. And so you can save a new copy and delete the old one and work that way. There's also some preset panels, which I'll show you here in just a minute. But for instance, I'm not going to use the Learn or the Libraries panel at this time. So I'm going to right click and hit close on both of these. And we will exit out that tooltip there. And this might be something that I want to save out, this actual workspace here. So to do that, go up to Window, go to Workspace, and then click on New Workspace. And it's going to say, give this a name. So I'll just call it my name. And then we can actually capture other things too. Do we want to capture keyboard shortcuts, menus, and toolbars? We're not going to worry about that right now. We'll just click Save. And it has saved out this workspace for me. If I go back up to the top and I go to Window and I go to Workspace, you can see now the one that I saved, which is my name, Jeremy, is highlighted. That's the workspace we're using. There's also other workspaces. Essentials is the default workspace that loads whenever you launch Photoshop. And then we have 3D, graphic and web, motion, painting, and photography. We can reset it to Jeremy, we can create a new workspace, or delete a workspace. So let's click back to Essentials. And there's actually no change because we started with Essentials and we created Jeremy from that. So they look identical. So we'll go down and we'll click, let's say 3D. 3D is great whenever you're creating any type of 3D graphics. It actually gives us the timeline at the bottom, so we could have motion graphics or motion 3D graphics. And then we have some options on the right-hand side that it thinks we would use often for 3D. So for instance, we have the brush and brush settings, we have clone source, we have character and paragraph panels, we have tool presets, and then we have a libraries button here. There's also more panels at the bottom for 3D, layers, and channels. And it's saying that this is the most common panels that someone working with 3D graphics might use. So we can take a look at the next one, let's say graphics and web. And you can see that those change based on what they believe someone working with graphic design might use. We also have motion graphics. You can see it actually expands that timeline. It was there for 3D, but it was minimized, and now it's expanded because they're definitely going to use that for motion graphics because you have to use time. We have painting, so you can see now we have brushes and colors and different things to select. And we have photography, so common things that you might use when doing any type of photography. But we can always go back to our workspace. So I can click on Jeremy again, and it'll take us back to our original workspace. Now, we can add a new workspace, or we can delete a workspace. If we want to delete this one, we have to pick another one so we can delete the one that's active. So we want to delete Jeremy, so let's go back to Essentials for now. We don't see a change because they essentially look the same, but we're going to go to Workspace and we're going to select Delete Workspace and then pick the one that you want. We'll select Jeremy and we'll hit Delete. Do you really want to delete the workspace, Jeremy? We'll click Yes, and now that workspace is no longer there. So we can go ahead and set up what we think we might use often as far as panels go and different things of that nature. So color and swatches is pretty common. You're going to use those pretty often. We'll want those. Properties is nice. It just gives us a quick way to make adjustments. And then there's an adjustments tab. This one we might not use too often. Later on we could, but right now it's not important, so we can close that out. Layers we will definitely use. Photoshop is intense on layers, so we'll definitely want to use those. Channels is great if we're looking at the RGB value of any of our photos or designs. And then paths. Paths we really don't need. We could close that out also. But what else might we use? Oh, also there's this one here. This is the history. We'll want to keep that open. Maybe we want to add in some more. So let's take a look here. Brush settings and brushes might be one that we want to keep open if we're doing a lot of painting or coloring. Character and character styles, if we're doing type, we might want to have those open also. And then let's see here. Info is pretty important because it tells us information about our images and graphics. And we have layers already. It's just not on right now, so we'll have to turn that on. Notes if we wanted to do any notes. Paragraph styles, and I think that's all pretty good. Tool presets, we can have that one open if we use that. I do use that often, but not right now. So we'll go ahead and close that out. So now we kind of have a mess going on here. So let's go ahead and drag the info over to the properties. Those kind of go together. I can go back and forth so I can see the properties, and then I have info here. If I want to take a quick look at that, I can do that here. Then we have brushes and brush settings. So I like this nice and big, but this might be a little too big. Let's see if we can minimize that down, but it won't look like it will go any more less than that. We can make it bigger, but that's as far down as it goes, but that's okay because we can minimize it and pull it up when we need it. And then character and paragraph. So that's also nice to have. I might want to see a little more or a little less of these. Let's see. And by dragging them around, you can see how big or small they're going to get. I'll probably use character and paragraph a little more than brush and brush settings. So maybe we'll just take this one and we'll move it up here. And I think that looks pretty good. And then if we want to, we can minimize those. And I have their icons here to take a look at. So now we have just the things we want. Properties and info, color and swatches, layers, and then some of these brush settings. So let's go ahead and save that out. We'll call this new workspace. We'll just call it Jeremy again and hit save. And now I have that saved as a workspace. So if I go and I select a different one, and then I come back to that workspace, it has all of those panels and tabs open that I would like to use. So go ahead and find what you think you might use. I know it's kind of hard because we're not doing anything at this point, but we'll start working. And as you see yourself using, like maybe you're a web designer and you're using a lot of characters and graphic design things, you'll want to have certain panels open. Maybe if you're retouching photos, you might want to have a different set open. So try to keep that in mind. Go ahead and create your own workspace, and we can always change it out later, but that's something that you'll want to do is make this your home, make this your way of working that feels comfortable to you. Again, if you don't like the tools on the left hand side, you can move that over to the right hand side by clicking and dragging that panel. So I can take this and maybe I say I want to work this way, and now we can save that out. Now unfortunately I don't believe there's any easy way to save this workspace out. Let's see if we call it Jeremy again. Yep, it'll say the workspace Jeremy already exists. You want to replace it? We'll hit yes. So it's replaced that out. Now with the toolbar on the right hand side, if I go back and pick a different one, you can see it resets. But now if I pick Jeremy, it's over on the right hand side. That might be a way that you like working, or you might want to have this open and have the tools a little more toward the top than straight down the line. So go ahead and set up the workspace that you see fit. I'm going to go ahead and save this back on the left hand side because I actually do like having it on the left hand side out of habit. So we'll replace that, and I'll just check and make sure that it's working properly. Okay, so now I have my workspace ready to go. Go ahead and get yours set up, and then we'll go ahead and take a look more at the program.